Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by Endre Hoffman. He is the doctor of self-worth. And today we are going to talk about how childhood trauma ruins result in both business and in life, and how it can lead to feeling worthless and not good enough and experiencing struggles within your life. Because as you shared with me just now, Endre, this is basically the story of your life, right?
Pretty much. It took me 35 years to dig myself out of it. And I have to be honest, it wasn't me. I needed help from outside.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to start how it came
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So as you said, childhood, which normally is where the roots are for other people too I work with. For me, it was disconnection from my dad. He was not really present, working all the time. And when he came home, he was quite angry, upset, stressed, fearful person. And it didn't take much for him, just a tiny spark to blow up. And he was fault-finding, highly critical all the time. And early on in life, I decided that I have to get away from him. And the strategy at the time was either go do some sports so I can excel and maybe impress him. So I will win this lack of love game, or at least I'm away so I cannot be caught not doing something right, or found that I didn't take out the rubbish or some tiny little things, or that my desk is not tidy enough.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I spent time away from home as soon as I can, and I became a high achiever. I, I remember at age 13, I was the national champion with the team in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I started to run marathons, probably from anger. I didn't actually prepare. I thought, well, I want to see if my body can take it. It
Mm-hmm.
was very painful. I think I
I
ran
can imagine.
I ran 3 of them, and I
Wow.
couldn't go under 4 hours. Of course, I never prepared
Mm-hmm.
because I was playing basketball. That's a very different distance to run.
Yes.
Uh, then I went climbing ice, long distance swimming. Was kind of pushing myself, and then later even to more dangerous activities like motorbike riding. Had a few accidents. I think I was so angry uh, at my dad and not being able to win that that I felt insecure,
Mm-hmm.
very low level of confidence. I would
Mm-hmm.
never be able to speak in front of others. If there were more than one person to talk to, I blushed. I was too shy to even ask out girls. Sometimes I was postponing it for a year, and then I said, "Well, probably it's too late." Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then came the time when I had to decide to what to do with my life. Now imagine I didn't know who I am, like my dad, disconnected from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, probably I just need to, if I don't know who I am and what I want, let's find and make some money, because it's better off not knowing what I want to do. So I decided to work in banking, which
Mm-hmm.
was the highest paid profession at the time. And it lasted about 5 years. And I felt really off. I really wanted to see the world and, get excited and find answers about my issues of low self-confidence, not feeling good enough. And it took me a long time to see that the work environment, what most people choose, is not the solution. I won't get answers because I have all of these similar people around me with similar patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to live my life in 5-year terms. And you may know, Barbara, that in the communist countries where I was born in Hungary, they had 5-year national plans. And I said to myself, because I haven't got a clue about my life, I may as well just change things big time every 5 years. So even if I die in the usual way of not feeling good enough or not feeling that I achieve anything or amount to anything, but at least I will have some experiences. And that's how I later moved to Ireland. And there I've seen the Lord of the Rings. I gave up my banking career. I worked at a production line, packing food products. Then I saw the Lord of the Rings, and I had a partner, and she said, well, let's go and live in New Zealand, because what a wonderful place. And when we landed, I think within 2 months, she left me, talking about self-rejection patterns. And yeah, I felt I'm at the end of the world, and I have to start a new life. And it was very difficult. And I resented, went back to being crazy. I went to climb ice. I started paragliding. Luckily, I survived a couple of accidents. And then I could not again get any results in the corporate environment. This was now GE, money in New Zealand, in Auckland. And I wasn't promoted. I wasn't picked. It was so painful. And I said, well, if that's the case, I will just get some jobs and I will go spiritual to avoid this lack of results. And I traveled, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 countries with a backpack. So every year I worked about 8 or 9 months. Then I either asked for a long leave, and they either gave it to me or they fired me, which was perfect. Because I said that I'm not allowed to be controlled. And then I was seeking out spiritual gurus and monasteries and spiritual masters to learn what's wrong with me. Where have I lost myself? And you know what? They couldn't tell me.
No.
I learned, like I studied religions. I started to learn a lot about the mind, because I knew something my dad and myself was off. But I could never connect the two, that my self-worth problems are directly tied to my dad or the beliefs that I'm carrying around in my head. So I still believe that I just need to, I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time. I really need to move and do something else. So I moved back to Europe. And we stayed for 4 years. This is 2008. And I started up 2 businesses. And again, I did not succeed, because my patterns of not feeling good enough, not deserving, unworthy, has failed both of these businesses, because I would have had to build teams. Building teams, network marketing. I couldn't punch through these limitations. And luckily, I opened up to personal development. I always become this junkie. So I went to Anthony Robbins events, and John DeMartini and T. Harbecker, and all of them. Spent probably over $100,000 on all of these courses and books and seminars. Probably about 30, 40 therapies, past life regression, anything under the sun I could find. And it didn't work. I was still just on the surface, scratching the surface, but same experiences over and over and over again. I honestly believe that for me, change is impossible. I am hopeless, broken. And I honestly expected that this will be my life, to get by, play small, play safe. And then we came to Australia, because again, my escape mechanism switched on. So we had 1 children, my wife and I, and then we moved to Sydney, Australia, and that was 2012. And I started to work hard, and we had the 2nd child on the way. So my mantra shifted to, oh, now I really have to work hard, and don't think of breaking out of this. It's only 30 years more, and then I can retire and I will have a life. And the pressure of the 2 children was immense. And, you know,
Right.
my wife was at home with the two kids. Sydney is an expensive city. And unfortunately, I was then decided I need to do a side hustle to break out of the job because I can't handle the 12-hour days. And then I started to work 12 plus 2, 3 hours, no sleep, disconnected from my family, from my children. I became pretty much a copy of my dad. And I said to myself, how could this happen? I've been working on never become like him for the last 20 years. And I'm here, age 43, and I'm exactly the same angry, fearful, stressed father who is alienated from his children. And it got to the point where there was this week when I almost had 1 or 2 accidents because I was actually falling asleep when I was driving at night because I worked at night to make more money. And my wife said, well, probably it would be better if we separated because it's not a big difference anyway because I wasn't around much. And that night, I remember again the bedtime stories which I used to read for my kids, that little time to connect. I kept falling asleep. And I always said to them, don't worry, just slap me in the face then I look like as if I was falling asleep. I remember that night, probably I was slapped 20 times. Sometimes I just crumpled on the floor and I slept there till the morning when I had to go back to work. And the next day, because I cried when they didn't see me, I said, well, what a disgrace. How could I be such a failure in every area of life? Because this affected probably every area of life and my health too. And what happened was I said, well, obviously, I have something wrong, deeply wrong with me. I said, I will change this. And I set one single goal for the rest of my life. And at that point, I believe I became sort of 7, 8 out of 10 committed to 10 out of 10 committed. I said, I will resolve my mindset challenges or lack of self-worth challenges, even if it takes all my money and all my time. And I will die trying, and I'm happy to drop that in 50, 60 years or however it takes. And within about a year, I have attracted a mindset specialist who was coming from an NLP background, and he was able to unlock these, how would I call them? The self-sabotage. And help me to reconnect with who I am, probably with my emotions, and more digging out my worth and value in the world. And as I started to transform, it was a natural progression to understand that, wow, this has held me. My mind was holding me a hostage for the last 35 years. How many people could be out there who could have similar patterns? There are plenty, I know now, but I didn't know at the time.
No.
And I've even met people who had this for 50 or 60 years. And I started to help others to overcome similar challenges. I became certified as a coach, NLP, and I do several other modalities to create fast psychological transformations. Not 35 years, but rather 6 to 12 months or even less. Because I believe that if we are working with a client, and I'm talking about probably the industry, then they deserve shifts every single session.
Yes, I agree.
Something must change, otherwise they are wasting their money. That's my attitude to change work. And unfortunately, there are thousands or millions of practitioners who are still charging for their time.
Yes, I
And
agree.
it's a joke because, I mean, the clients are coming for results.
Yeah,
How
I
could they
totally agree.
afford to then, and then some they don't even take responsibility? I mean, I don't even want their money. If they didn't get what they wanted, the transformation, well, probably then I
Usually
didn't
one of
deserve it.
the, or a
Yeah,
couple of the big names you named are part of that industry. They take people's money and they do not give them the results that they promise. I
I
think
agree.
that's a
So
big
I
problem in our industry.
so I come from this place that, if I did not win it or deserve the amount, then I'm happy to give it back. I never had to, but that means I probably have misjudged who I should work with,
Mhm.
or I didn't get the results that we were looking for. Either way, I then should not, keep the money.
Yeah, I love that way of thinking. I am very much the same. I am also a child that had massive childhood traumas. And learning what I learn now, or what I know now, is that we are formed between 1 and 7, and how we feel and our family system, and especially the heroes that are supposed to be our mom and dad, have a huge impact on how we turn out as adults. And when we suffer from childhood trauma, we usually do not feel safe. We usually are not enforced in that we are beautiful the way we are, that we should love ourselves and embrace everything that we are. So what I see happening is that you start doubting yourself. You start doubting your worth. You start doubting if you're good enough. We usually feel unsafe, insecure, unhappy, lonely, very different from most people, and are lacking control of our lives, where on the one hand we really want to have control, and on the other hand it feels like we have absolutely no control, because we didn't. As children, we didn't have any control over our family system and the things that happened. And what a lot of adults don't realize is that it impacts a child on a very different level than it does in other adults. And because we are still in the formative years between 1 and 7, we take things personally as a child, and we then think that we are a bad child, and that that's the reason why our parents treat us that way. And that can cause a whole bunch of problems when we are adults, often leading to careers that are not suitable for us, burnouts that we end up in, failed marriages, broken families, and passing along the things that we definitely don't want to pass along, but that we do anyway without us meaning to, and then feeling really bad about it and berating ourselves afterwards.
Powerful. Wow, you really got it. I was taking a few notes because I thought, wow, you got my story, or probably you had even worse, but not that it's a competition, but I have three things that as well I see as a very typical way of dealing with this. Not that they are resolving it, but the way their minds are dealing with. And I believe 70% of the population has this: I'm not good enough, or I'm not up to the standard, and I'll be found out kind of pattern. I see three more things happening: chasing false goals,
Yes.
chasing the next thing as the formula for happiness, and finding, oh,
When
that
I
card
have that house, that wife,
didn't
that
work.
husband, that car,
Yeah,
then I'll be happy. No.
and so that's a big trap.
Yes.
The next one I found is that, oh, I just have to push harder. I need to work harder. I need to work more. I need to work overtime. Then I will achieve. Well, probably not.
No.
And the third one is because there is a lack of self-love, lack of confidence inside. People are going to get external validation.
Mhm.
And that's the trap. Looking for someone to tell them that they are good enough, or looking for the shiny objects of, I don't know, maybe phones or cars. I'm not an expert on it, but
Yes.
gathering the toys to then feel that now they have achieved a certain level of success.
Yeah, they're
But
trying to fill an inner void with beautiful things in order to feel completed when that happens, but it never happens because everything that's material possessions and everything that you're looking for outside of yourself can never fill the void that you are feeling on the inside. So I see that happening a lot too, and it causes imposter syndrome, where we fake it till we make it. It's one of the most well-known advices that I don't agree with, because you will feel like an imposter when you fake it. There's nothing wrong with dressing up. I made sure I also look good for this interview. You are dressed up for this interview. At least we are not in sweat clothes. And there's nothing wrong with that, because when I dress nice, I feel nice and I feel great in my own skin, and that reflects in the way that I speak, in the way that I come across. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you pretend to be this very wealthy person, and I see a lot of those images, mostly on Facebook, I have to be honest, of I am earning this much money and this is my new Lamborghini and this is my house at the ocean with the pool and blah, 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 the whole grandeur of everything. And then I think, well, your life must be very empty, because if you feel the need to showcase all of this wealth, true wealth comes from within. You talked about self-love. That's what mostly is lacking. I didn't love myself because turns out my mother doesn't love herself. My father didn't love himself. How could they teach me to love myself when they are not loving themselves? So that was a foreign concept to me. And because I was very different than most people I met, I worked really hard in being the person I thought they wanted me to be, in order for them to like me, love me, accept me, want me, in order indeed to validate my feeling of unworthiness or not being good enough. We look at other people to tell us, oh, you're doing great. Oh yeah, really? Because we are insecure about our abilities and because we didn't learn that as a child. And that often leads to wrong choices, not the right career, not the right partner, which inevitably leads to deep, deep unhappiness. And the further away you get from yourself, the more unhappy you will be, and the bigger the effects negatively will be on your life. So it's one of the things that I fight for, right? I would love to create this summer program for children where they learn everything that they're not learning in school. That's mostly about the things that we've been talking about right now, because it's if you learn this at a very young age, then there's a lot less that you have to unlearn when you become an adult, because you probably went through a roughly similar process as me, where you first need to peel off all the layers of your onion in order to find your core and who you really are. But that means healing a lot of things, spending tons and tons of money, finding answers or looking for answers, coming to the conclusion, oh no, this was not it, looking for the next thing, that was not it, looking for the next thing, that was not it, looking for the next thing, all the while starting to feel lesser about yourself, lesser, more unhappy, more at dis-ease, until finally, usually we reach a breaking point. In my case, it was a severe burnout that changed things around for me and started me on my journey of self-discovery.
Wow, it must have been hectic. And I believe, yes, to take on your point, there's two ways to psychological changes. One is collapse in an area of life, which would be health, money, wealth, or relationships. The other one is someone who has realized that it's not going to work. It's time to make a decision, commit to a coach, commit to a healing modality, and then work through, yes, every layer, every belief that is in the way. Unfortunately, most people they don't even get to realize what the problem is. Why? I think that's the big one. See, the human mind is wired to avoid these uncomfortable feelings, inconvenient feelings inside. So what most people do is that, I can't handle the anger or sadness or feeling guilty. So I will just go down the pub. I start to re regulate myself or do my sugar fix or have some drugs, smoking, video games, or, a lot worse. But it's all about the same thing that, I can't actually resolve this. So I will go and distract myself until I have to go back to work because then
Yes.
I'm again busy trying
It's
to achieve
basically
the life.
running away from yourself, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much people give themselves up, and I don't blame them. That was me. And I realized at one point
It's a
I
coping mechanism.
started to use traveling as a distraction tool because I could not face the
Mhm.
job I hated. And I said, well, and I did this even with my family later. I said, well, I don't know what we do. I can't go back to that workplace. So I'll take a long leave. You guys go home to Europe. And I have to say, I was selfish enough to finish my traveling trips on my own. But I could then really breathe.
Mhm.
And I used learnings from traveling, self-reflection, journaling to
Mhm.
try and figure myself out. And it did not work. It was tiny little understandings, or some call it semi-enlightenments, but I still needed a coach to pull me out of the fog.
Yes. And that's it. You can have mini breakthroughs and you can do a lot yourself, but it's like you want to lose weight and you're going to the gym and you're just pulling on the machines that are there, and maybe you do a body pump less or Pilates less or something like that, and you might see some results. You might yo-yo with your weight. It might go down a little bit, but it's struggling. It's not really how you imagined your journey to be. While if you invest in a personal trainer and you tell them about your goals and especially the things that you've already tried and what was not working for you, then they can craft a plan together with you that will be tailor-made to you and who you are, and that will help you reach your goals a lot faster with a lot less struggle and a lot more inspiration. And that's what a good coach, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of coaches out there I would not call good, that have money motivations. So, and my advice would always be to check people out. That's why I love doing these talks, because it allows people to not only get to know me, but also you, Andre, and feel our energy. And if we match, and if people feel like, oh, I love what you're saying, or oh my God, I hate your voice, or whatever kind of reaction. Because when you find a good coach that doesn't have a one size fits all program, but a custom made program like me, like you have, where we can really help you pinpoint the exact things that happened to you, the results of that, and how we can deprogram that by deprogramming your autopilot. I help people break through blocks or limiting beliefs that are holding them back. I work on 4 different layers in the subconsciousness, also the ones that are so deep down that most people cannot reach them, in order to free yourself so that your real self can finally start shining out. And that's the moment when you feel change. And I agree with you, Andre. Every session I do with people needs to have a feelable result. It needs to make a difference in my client's life, because then I'm doing my job.
So exciting to hear that, because as we have realized that there are a lot of coaches out there who are giving advice, and what we do, we change identity. We
Yes.
give a new experience to self. And as you said, I haven't got a system. My system is, what is the biggest roadblock, and let's remove it right now. And the
Exactly.
person then they can pretty much move toward whatever is the outcome that they're looking for. But then when they come back to me again, my first question is, what's going on now? Are
Mhm.
you making progress? Are you holding yourself back in any way? Bang, we've got to knock it out. So I think
Exactly.
I can sense that we are working on probably very similar ways and attitudes, but as long as you are committed and you're listening to this video, pretty much that's all Barbera and myself needs. All we need is you to be committed. The rest is just, I call the work. And the
Yes.
work is not difficult. The work is not pushing harder. The work is, here's my demonstration tool, is to take off filters that you may have in front of you. The I'm not good enough. When you see the word in a distorted way, you could have several ones that
Mhm.
says I'm unworthy, I'm unloved. And what we do, we help you to identify you have these filters in front of your eyes, and we every time when you get to see us, then we can help you to drop one at a time, sometimes more at a time, but what you find then is reality of who you really are,
Exactly.
which is magnificent.
Mhm.
And you will find more and more as you step into your own power of what you want in life. And
Exactly.
it won't be that hard.
No, because things are supposed to be effortless. And that's what I bring people back to. And I think it sounds like you do mostly the same type of thing, because when you are yourself, things are effortless. When you know who you are and you love yourself deeply and you're proud of the person that you are, and you don't let the outside world influence you, but you influence the outside world from the inside out, then you have lots of friends, but real friends that are actually there for you. You will find a career that doesn't feel like working because you're doing something that's basically an extension of yourself, like what we are doing here. And you will find joy in everyday things every day.
Wow. Yes. What came up for me, and I took some notes again, that what I could add, and I absolutely agree that you reset your life. It's almost like a fresh new start. But what really happens is then, let's say the accessories are the new clothes, or whatever clothes you are in, you are bulletproof. These things don't matter anymore, because now your self-worth is back at, close to 100%. So you wouldn't need these external things to establish yourself, or your authority.
Exactly.
Some people say you are uncool. Well, yeah, I'm being myself. I
Mhm.
don't need you to tell me that I'm good or not, because my clients tell me, and the reviews tell everyone who is bothering to have a look at it, or the whole list of videos, 2 3 minute ones, that shows all of these people who have changed who they are and having a new life.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's really what it is about, right? Because when you know yourself really well and accept yourself and know that you're good enough and know your worth, then who cares if someone doesn't like you? Who cares if someone thinks you're an idiot? Well, okay, thanks for the information. And you can just let it slide off you. Imagine the freedom that that would give if you were not constantly busy trying to please people, or trying to live up to other people's expectations, or other kinds of issues I see with the clients that come to me. And you probably see a whole lot of these types of issues as well, because they come from a lack of worth, from a lack of self-confidence, a lack of self-esteem, all the selves, basically, lack of self-love, all of them are lacking. And usually that's because you haven't learned how to do that. how to be that person that trusts themselves, that sees their self-worth, that loves themselves. And partly because of our parents, but also partly because of our society. I've recorded a video that I called the rules, the bullshit rules of life. They are about everything that's being handed down from generation to generation about the way that things are supposed to be. And you're supposed to work really hard. And if you're not successful, you need to work harder. That's what I've been told all my life. I worked myself into a severe burnout because of it. And it was not good information. So it starts, I think, with indeed feeling some sort of discord where you feel like, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I am not blissfully happy or finding an effortlessness in my life, and being brave enough to admit it. And the next step is being brave enough to feel that you might need some help. You actually could use some help. You might be able to do it yourself, but it might cost tons of hours, millions of books, thousands of dollars, and still not net you the results that you want. So the smart choice would be to find someone that you resonate with. Even if we were to do exactly the same thing, you would still resonate with either my energy or Andre's energy or somebody else's energy. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you find the person that you resonate with and that you trust them enough to open up and allow them to help you help yourself. Because that's in the end what I do. And I think you're doing the same. We help you to help yourself. I'm not teaching people the things that help me the most. I help them discover what helps them the most. And I guide them through the processes that are needed to shed all the excess baggage that they've been carrying for most of their life that's not helping them, and to rediscover, as it were, their natural lightness and their natural joy and their natural ability to shine.
Wonderful how you explore this. It is about unlearning crap, unlearning the way you've been hypnotized out of yourself. That
Yes.
childlike self who is playing life, doing what he or she loves and get paid for it.
Exactly.
That's pretty much that. What if you have skills, the talents that no one else has? And if you were starting to cultivate them, and then you could grow out and be unique with your skills, then you end up being the expert. Then you can charge anything. That's pretty much business today. All you need to do is just to find one specific problem that you resolve faster or more efficient or cheaper than anyone else.
Exactly. And what I see often is that people think, oh, yeah, but everybody can do this, right? So they don't feel that it is something special that they can do. I was guilty of those thoughts as well. But sometimes we need someone else to point out how awesome we are and that the thing that we are doing is actually awesome and that it will help a lot of people. So that's also part of our job description. Well, we've been talking for quite some time, but we are nearing the end of our time together, sadly, because I feel like we could explore this topic for a lot longer and also have a lot of new nuggets. But I think we already shared a lot of really valuable things. And if you are new to this channel, it would be amazing if you would subscribe to it so you never miss another video again. It would also be amazing if you would share this video with your audience, your Facebook people, your LinkedIn people, or wherever people can find you, because you probably know people who need to hear this, who might be in this situation, but also might be too shy or other reasons for coming out and saying so or asking for help. And by sharing this, you might be the key in helping them unlock themselves, and they would be forever grateful. Yes. I can also imagine that when you're listening and viewing, you want to know, where can I find more about Endre? So where can people find you? How can people come into contact with you?
And thanks for that. And yes, I just wanted to say hashtag Doctor of Self-Worth, and that will bring you to all of my social media channels. I've got a page that is being developed, drofselfworth.com. You will find all my details on social media, so just send me a message. But well, as you said, it takes a few seeds planted into minds to then finally those people. And this is where, if you're listening to this video, you are instrumental to your own transformation, but probably transformations of other people too, because it took us as well years and years of planting seeds then to harvest something different in life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I love these videos, because it's like, I give you an analogy. It's like you want to really change your life and crush your old reality. And then imagine this concrete piece that you knock every time with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And the hammer is creating these tiny little cracks. But at one point, those tiny little cracks will weaken this piece of concrete and it will crush. And that's when your life changes.
Yes.
When you say, no more, enough of doing the
Stop.
compromise.
Exactly.
I want something different and I move on. That gets you to this high level of commitment where the excuses start to drop away.
Exactly. And you don't have to do it by yourself. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Endre. I, for one, am someone that if I feel I cannot help you, I will point you into the direction of people that I know, of whom I feel that might help you better than I could. Because for me, it's all about you and getting you the help that you need to become the person that you always were, but somehow just lost sight of. And rediscovering that person.
Beautiful, I agree. There's an authentic version of you inviting from the future who is having fun, living life on her or his own terms, and contributing and living in abundance. And
Exactly.
you have a choice. You could go back to your little life, but I can tell you, time is going, taken away. The minutes becomes hours, the hours become days, the days becomes months. And by the time you realize you lost decades in your life,
Exactly.
you'll have regrets,
Most
which is
definitely.
okay with me. But you will get committed then.
Yes, if you're not careful, definitely. So I loved what you shared. I couldn't agree more. And with that, I think it's the perfect note to end this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you so much for being here, for listening, for staying until the end. I wish you an awesome rest of your day wherever you are. And I look forward to inspiring you with the next episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. Bye for now.
See you.